Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. Yes, I know I'm sitting down. Move on. Let's move on. But today, I really wanted to talk to you about the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Wayne. This is not going to be like a really structured review about it. I just really wanted like a chatty video about this series because even though I really liked this series, I found myself really conflicted about it. It's complicated, so let's just talk about this a little bit slower. So basically on the Faithful and the Fallen, we are going to have like this classic fantasy style type of series. So it's basically about the battle between good and evil. We have this world, giants used to live here, but humans came in, slaughtered the giants and basically exiled them. We took the land, and now there's this prophecy. Everyone is a little bit nervous about it because there's going to be two champions, one for good and one for evil, the Black Sun and the Bright Star. They're going to fight and they are basically going to decide the end of this world, well, the destiny of this world. It feels really classic, But now let me tell you my feelings with this series. So when I first started reading Malice, which is book 1, I couldn't connect with it. The first 200-300 pages were really slow. And as someone who doesn't mind slow books, this was even slow for me. Like at some points I was just like, I'm not connected with it. And I think that a huge thing that has to do with that is the fact that we have a lot of characters in this novel, which is one of the main points that I really want to talk about. There's an insane amount of characters in this series, and we just get more and more with the series progressing. It is just too much sometimes. You can fail at too little and too much. Sadly, we jump around a lot in this book, and we always say that short chapters are the best way to go because long chapters are a fucking mess and super dreadful, and you don't want to be reading about the same thing for 60 fucking pages. No. But the thing is, when you have this amount of characters, having really short chapters makes me not knowing who the fuck am I following right now. Because we only have like, I don't know, 10 pages of Corban, and then we jump to the POV of his sister, and then we jump to the POV of the Counselor of the King, and then we jump to the POV of a bad guy, and then we jump to the POV of a friend of the family, and then we jump to another POV, and then we jump to another POV, and then we jump to another POV. You're a little bit, now you're at that point where you're just like, what? And then you go back, and you only get a little snippet again of that POV of that character. So sometimes I really dreaded following some of the characters because I just wanted to get into the more interesting part. I understand why there are so many characters in here. John Wayne really wanted to get you all the different POVs in this war, and I appreciate that. The thing that I really love about this series is that we always get the POV from the bad guys, which is something refreshing, It's tiresome just following the heroes. But the problem is, sometimes you just want to follow the heroes. Like, sometimes the evil guy is doing something meaningless and you're just like, okay, why am I reading about this dude right now when Corbin is having a duel, for example? It's just weird. And it's something that I didn't love. But the thing is, the ending of this first book, it's fucking mind-blowing. Like, it's so good. So good. I was feeling like a 3-star book towards the, the middle. From there, the book picked up and it was a fucking dream. Honestly, the ending is just so fucking heartbreaking. Like, it's just really hard. It's great. It's well constructed, delivers, surprises you. It's just like, oh, of course this is going to happen. But it's so brutal. So brutal, amazing. It really sets like the stakes for the rest of the series. It really says that. And it's done so well. it established characters' motivations from that until the end of the fucking series. Some of the plot lines start here, and it's just great. That is great. That was amazing. But you see, then we go into the second book, which is Valor. We follow the same characters, we add a few. These characters, some of them I like, some of them, well, kind of most of them I just don't care about. The only characters that I really liked following from the first book till the last one were McKean and Veritas, kind of. And Veritas sometimes I wasn't feeling, honestly. Corvan is a really average MC, like chosen one trope. So Valor I enjoyed, but again, the beginning was really slow. So every time that I start one of these books, I'm like, we're going to struggle with the beginning. We're going to struggle with the beginning. But then we get into the ending and it's again fucking mind-blowing. So just like, this was amazing. You get this feeling that it was fucking fantastic. Which it is. This book series is great. Don't get me wrong, this book series is great. You know, you finish Valor and you're just like, okay, this was fucking great. Let's just get into Ruin. And Ruin was my favorite book of the series. I think it's the most like complex book. It has a lot of changes for the characters. It also has lots of plot twists that really change the story for like in kind of not average, but your typical classic fantasy series to a great new twist. And that was Ruin. Ruin made me cry at the end. There was a lot going on in this book. There's a plot twist here that was fantastic. Fantastic. It just elevated this series to another level. And I was just like, okay, I'm into this. I was a little bit hesitant with the first two books. Like, I really liked them. But in my reviews, I always put something like, I feel like I'm getting there, but something's missing. Something's missing. I didn't feel that in this book. I felt that everything went smoothly along. But again, so many characters in this book. If you're listening to the audiobook, the narrator just pronounces the names so similarly. I swear, sometimes I had no fucking clue who we were following. Like, I had to grab the book and physically read it while I was listening to it because I was so confused. So confused. What the hell is going on? Who is this person? And sometimes I just mix who the hell we were talking about. Like, sometimes someone would die and we're just like, oh, but who was this person? Do we know him? Like, what? I have that feeling throughout the whole series. And as someone who isn't a character-driven reader, is weird because I don't mind having a huge cast. Having a small cast of characters, I don't care. But we spend so much time on minor character things here that I lose the thread of the plot a lot of times. And as someone who is a plot-driven reader, that affected my enjoyment of the series. But this book I felt was the exception. A lot of plot things happen here. Not that many character-like things. So that's probably why this one is my favorite, and this one I gave 5 stars because it was so satisfying in so many ways. Like, I ended it and I was just like, okay, fucking amazing. Great book from beginning till the end. But then this month I read Wrath, which is the final book. And the thing is, I went into this book knowing that John Wen was excellent at crafting endings. Because he fucking is. Like, he is the master of fucking endings. Now, my problem here is that for me, the ending wasn't that good. As I told you, I think that I even said this on some of my wrap-ups where I was just like, okay, I know the beginning is going to be slow, but the ending is going to be fucking amazing. And this book was the contrary. I felt like it was faster from the beginning. I felt like every character was already established, so it was easy to follow. But still, many of the characters I just didn't care. Like, many of them had like personal vendettas against other characters' POVs that you follow. So you were just like, one was like, okay, I hate McKean. And the other was like, oh my God, I hate Lycus. It was really back and forward, you know, to tell the same story. You do not need two POVs. Like, I understand that there are many, you know, like different ways to tell the same story, and every band and every side has their own way of it. But for example, the story between McKean and Lycus, did we really needed Lycus' perspective? Because honestly, I felt like every thought that McKean had about him was accurate. And we know that. So why would we follow him in his mind when it's exactly the same thing as McKean is thinking about him? Do you get what I mean? Like, I know I'm explaining like shit, but it's just like, oh, this mistreating bastard that only wants to take, oh my God, I almost said Felicine. Fidele. Holy shit. We have like Fidele's perspective, McKean's perspective, and Lycus' perspective. And they all agree that Lycus is a piece of shit. Like, why do we need the three of them? Do you get what I mean? It's like, you know, I get that you really need to have like Nathair's perspective. That's necessary. 100% necessary. But some of the other ones were just like, sure, why not have them? But yeah, everyone who had like a feud with another character, that character also had a POV. And sometimes that wasn't necessary. This book was filled with completing those vendettas. And some of them I really felt like McKean's vendetta and Verity's fight. That was fantastic. Those two in this book, incredible. McKean's story arc was the best one for me in this book. Even though I didn't really like him at the beginning, his arc as a whole, one of the best ones. One of the best ones. I also kind of liked Corvan's ending. Kinda. Some of the other characters I was okay with, but overall, the ending was too good to be true for me. Like, a series that was pretty, like, heart-wrenching, felt really okay-ish by the end, and that bothered me a little bit. Not a lot, of course not a lot. I really like this series, but it bothered me a little bit because I was expecting, like, something to surprise me, and just because you have those expectations, of course it's not going to surprise you as much. But sadly, the resolution wasn't as good, and I'm surprised because, you know, this man is great at crafting endings. So I was just like, so now I'm left with a little bit of a feeling of being a little bit underwhelmed with the ending. But at the same time, I just bought the next trilogy entirely because I love the world that this man does. I love that. The only thing that I cannot click with is the amount of characters, and I hope we don't have that many characters in the next one. So I bought what's the name of the series? I actually don't know the name of the next series, but I bought the three of them the moment I finished Wrath. So I still really want to keep reading his works. Like, I really love this series. I like this series. I think it's great. But it has some issues that for someone who has like a similar taste to me, it's probably going to be a little bit harder to fall in love with it. Because, you know, there's a lot of the time. What a sentence there. Overall, I gave Malice 4 stars, I gave Valor 4.5, I gave Ruin 5 stars, and I gave Wrath 4 stars. I think this series is completely worth reading. Maybe it's a little bit too much to binge read, honestly, because, you know, so much going on. You might want to just have a little bit of time to process everything and just get settled with every single character so you can actually follow them. But overall, I will highly recommend that you check out this series if you like classic fantasy. The twist that we have in book 3 is fucking great. And if you're struggling with the beginning, I will highly recommend that you keep reading till you reach the end. But if you don't like Malice after getting into the end and just completing the book, I wouldn't say that you should continue. Move to another series because the same formula is used throughout the whole series. So if you didn't like the first one, you will probably enjoy the last one or the second one or the third one. So think about that. I have a little bit of mixed feelings with this, but overall, highly recommend this one and completely worth reading. Have you read this series? I know many of you have. I think it's a pretty well-known series, but not that many people have actually completed it. Highly recommend that you check it out. If you have any thoughts, if you're mad at me for not loving this series, you can also leave a comment down below. I'll fight you. But yeah, overall, highly recommend to check out this series. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.